Hello, I'm Brian Noble, CEO of Family Policy Institute of Washington.
And I'm Brad Payne, president of FPIW Action.
A couple disclaimers before we get started today. Nothing in this video is considered an endorsement of the candidate, nor the candidate's endorsement of FPIW, nor FPIW Action. It's simply a public service to meet and greet the candidate.
All right, Jerrod. Well, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, Brian and Brad. Thanks for having me, and look forward to have a discussion here.
All right. Well, I'm going to start with a first three-part question. If you would just share what your position you're running for, and then share a bit about yourself and your family, and tell us about your experience for this position.
Yeah, so I'm running for Congress, 10 congressional seats in Washington State. I'm running for the 4th congressional district, which is in central Washington. And I'm a family guy, 55 years old, married for 29 years. My anniversary is coming up here pretty soon. And, we raised 3 kids. We homeschooled them. And my background's, I'm a veteran of the U.S. military. I was served on the USS Constellation, which is an aircraft carrier that President Reagan named America's flagship. I'm also a double engineer major, mechanical and manufacturing engineer, and I've owned my own business for almost 30 years, which we basically stepped away from a lot of our normal life. Our kids are now grown, and I was in DC on January 6th. I saw what happened, and I came back and saw that our congressman voted to impeach the best president of our lives. And so I decided it was time to run for this position. Now, it's not something new. I decided in 2012, actually, when Obama was reelected, that I wanted to run for this position. So I've been studying and really learning and growing my knowledge base so that I could, I could do a good job of serving in this position. I was assuming that at some point Dan Newhouse would retire, but this is the next best thing, I suppose.
All right. What is your primary promise to the public if you are elected?
So I think for me, the biggest thing is the public wants somebody that they can relate to, somebody that is actually one of them, and somebody that also has the mental capacity to be able to handle the things that are coming at us. I'll say that, and I think this isn't a shock to anyone, that most of the things that the media is trying to get us to banter and to argue about are meaningless in terms of the big picture. There's so many threats that we have on our lives that nobody's talking about. For example, the coming digital currency and the threat of a centralized system without a decentralized option, or the coming threat that's really upon us with regards to AI and AGI and ASI, some of which my opponent knows nothing about. And so I just promise to be and continue to be just a guy, a father, a husband, a member of this community, and someone that is willing to serve and to make sure that I maintain communication with the constituents in our voter base, and try to do the best job we can to support President Trump should he get reelected, which I hope he does, and to restore the country that we all grew up in, that we love, that we want to see prosper, allow people to worship Jesus if they want to worship, and to just live their lives and be free and not be um, censored by a government that is supposed to operate under our consent. And so that's my commitment, is to just be who I am and to communicate and to make sure that the people have a voice.
All right. What differentiates you from your opponent?
So, boy, again, I think going back to some of the similar items, Dan Newhouse is not well scripted in terms of just understanding a lot of the big threats that come at us. If he does know them, then why is he not talking about them? Why is he not communicating? And I think that leads to the thing that hurts him the most, is the fact that he just doesn't communicate well with the voters. The only time the voters in our district really hear from him is when it's time for reelection, and we get a barrage of postcards and now things on social media and stuff like that. So I'm very passionate about seeing America be restored and to be the greatest place on earth that anyone could want to live in. And I'm also passionate about doing the best job I can with the knowledge base that I have to stand for the American people for a period of time, and then coming back home, finding someone else who's better than myself to serve in this position and going on about my life. I have zero interest in becoming a lifelong politician, and that's exactly what Dan Newhouse is. He's been in politics his whole life, and his father was in politics. There's a building named after him, and after his father in Olympia. So I have no interest in that. I've been success. There's nothing more successful in my life that I will accomplish than my family and my children. And so I'm not in this to check any boxes or to build some notoriety. I want to fight for the American people and for the natural rights that come to us from God and that are codified in the greatest public document in the history of the world, which is our Constitution.
All right, our fourth and final question. What did you learn during the primary campaign that is positively impacting you during this general election?
Well, for me, my big desire is I want to restore Washington State to the conservative history and the conservative roots that it came from. And I was incredibly inspired through the primary process, and especially the result coming out, more than 10 points ahead of the incumbent and even farther ahead of everyone else that was in the race. And so for me, it was about inspiration and it was about encouragement that the people want somebody that's just a normal person, somebody that doesn't have political aspirations necessarily. And I would carry that same sentiment again and just say that, we're putting a stake in the ground here in central Washington, that this is the stake that we take our state back by. And I will commit, even though my primary role, should I get elected, will be in Washington, D.C., I'll commit to working every ounce of energy I have here in this state to restore our state, to make sure that we can win statewide races again and that we can restore sanity in the state, because I think that people are fatigued and tired and in many cases don't really realize how bad off we are here in Washington state. And I'm committed to working hard and investing everything I have into making sure we can restore this state.
All right. Well, Jerrod, we appreciate you joining us today. Thanks for your time and for sharing with our listeners.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. I'm Brad Payne with FPIW Action.
And I'm Brian Noble with FPIW. Friendly reminder, nothing in this video is considered an endorsement of the candidate, nor the candidate's endorsement of FPIW or FPIW action. Let's go out there and defend and advance biblical values in the public square. God bless.